Hi, our story today is The Folly of What Noah Preached, based on Genesis chapter 6. Paul wrote, "For the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God." 1 Corinthians 1:18. In Noah, we have an Old Testament illustration of this truth. Ponder how Noah's warnings about this fantastic events as yet unseen, Hebrews 11:7, must have sounded to his hearers. I've imagined the responses of two of Noah's neighbors, fictitiously named Talmai and Bakbukia. "This is madness." Talmai was alarmed by the huge piles of logs strewn across the vast clearing and all the hired men cutting and hauling them. "How long is this boat going to be?" Well, Noah braced for the deluge of ridicule. 300 cubits. "Unbelievable," laughed Bakbukia. 300. "You're right," he said, slapping Talmai's back. "I said no one's that stupid, but I stand corrected." Talmai shook his head in unbelief. "Noah, you've lost your mind. No one can build a boat that big." "You're an idiot," shouted Bakbukia. "You're building a 300-cubit boat, 6 days' journey from the sea." "It won't need to be near the sea," Noah replied. "Oh, come on, Noah," sighed Talmai. "You've been preaching about this flood of divine judgment, but look around you. Seriously, do you really believe all this is going to be underwater?" "Talmai, I don't base my faith merely on what seems plausible to me," said Noah. "Well, that's obvious," scoffed Bakbukia. Noah held up his hand and continued, "I base my faith on what God says he will do." "Who's God, Noah?" asked Talmai flatly. "The only God there is, Talmai, Elohim, the Almighty, the Creator," said Noah. "So Elohim is a mass murderer then," says Bakbukia mockingly. "Bakbukia, you're speaking foolishness," said Noah. "I'm speaking foolishness," snapped Bakbukia. "You're building a colossal boat in the middle of nowhere because some bloodthirsty God told you so, and you're calling me foolish?" "Yes, I am, because you're assuming that what looks foolish to you is foolish," replied Noah. "Building this ark doesn't just look foolish, Noah," said Talmai curtly. "Tell me what foolishness is then, Talmai," countered Noah. "Foolishness is that, my friend," said Bakbukia, gesturing toward the site. "No, I want you to answer the question. What is foolishness?" said Noah. "It's believing something that isn't real," exclaimed Talmai, "basing your life on a delusion." "Exactly," said Noah. "Foolishness is basing your life on a delusion." Both men looked at Noah for a moment, perplexed. Talmai snorted. "You're saying that we're the deluded ones?" "Yes." "What makes you certain that you're not deluded?" said Noah. "Common sense, Noah. Try it. Comes in handy in built building." "Common sense, huh?" "Common sense," Bakbukia responded. "Noah, yours? The common sense you exercise when beating your wife when you're angry, or when you try to take advantage of your customers? Or perhaps it's the common sense of your friend Jobab, who extorted sex from the wife of a man indebted to him? Or the common sense of that man who cut Jabab's throat? Or Talmai, was it your common sense in working your slave to the ground and beating him for petty infractions? Or was it your slave's common sense for raping your daughter before he escaped? Or Bakbukia, was it the chief's common sense to run your father through with a spear for mocking him?" "Watch your tongue, old man, if you want to keep it," threatened Bakbukia. "Point made, then," replied Noah. "Depravity is rampant everywhere. Look at us. We always carry our weapons because we can't trust anyone. And when we're honest, we know we aren't trustworthy. The most common sense we share is our evil selfishness." "Listen, that's beside the point," asserted Talmai. "The point is there isn't going to be any flood, and this huge ark is a waste of time, money, and trees." "It's not beside the point," said Noah. "Elohim has been warning us for generations to forsake our evil, self-absorbed sin and return to him. No one has listened. We have only gotten worse. We're consuming each other. The point is that your perception of reality is distorted by self-centeredness, Talmai. Elohim created the predictable world that you know, and it's foolishness to presume that he can't unexpectedly turn his plan into a sea." "Well, if he does," said "this Elohim of yours is as wicked as the rest of us. He's just going to drown us all like dogs," replied Balbukia. Except you, of course, because, oh, you're so righteous. Not true, Balbukia. It's not Elohim's bloodthirst and selfishness that brings the flood. It's his justice. It's what our sin deserves, don't you see? In his mercy, he has been warning us over and over. But the ark is a sign that he will not wait forever. And God isn't sparing me because my nature is any better than yours. He's sparing me because I trust him. I believe what he says. And this ark will shelter anyone who will trust him. Join me, brothers. You don't have to perish in Elohim's judgment. Believe him and escape. Telmai looked blankly at Noah. Build your boat, crazy man, but keep away from me and my family. Me too, said Balbukia. If Elohim's going to wipe out everyone I know and love, then I want to go where they're going. I'm not going for a boat ride with a murderous god, religious fanatic, and a bunch of wild animals. The clever and contemptuous mockery of those who find the gospel simply ridiculous stings us. Their derision can stir up fears and doubts that we might really be foolish after all. Their scorn can tempt us to keep our mouths closed. God knows all our fears, doubts, temptations, and reminds us that the gospel will sound foolish to the world because he's making foolish the wisdom of the world. 1 Corinthians 1:20. Then he repeatedly tells us not to be ashamed of it. Luke 9:6, Romans 1:16, and 2 Timothy 1:8. Like Noah, who was a herald of righteousness in his age, 2 Peter 2:5, we also are heralds of events as yet unseen, Hebrews 11:7. Jesus tells us that Noah's flood was a foreshadow. For as were the days of Noah, so will the coming of the Son of Man. For as in these days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24:37-39. But in this greater judgment, a greater, more perfect ark has been provided, the crucified and risen Son of Man. All who are in him when the flood of God's wrath comes will be saved, but only those who believe his word can enter his ark. If Noah's warning and gospel sounded foolish to his hearers, how much more does our warning and gospel sound to our hearers? We must not be surprised when others ridicule it, for the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, 1 Corinthians 1:18. But it pleased God through the folly of what we preached to save those who believe, verse 21. Our call is not to be respected by the unbelieving world. Our call is to trust the Lord's word over the confident contempt of those who are blinded, 2 Corinthians 4:4. Our call is to endure the reproach that Jesus endured, Hebrews 13:13, and preach the gospel for the sake of those who are being saved, 1 Corinthians 1:18. And thank you for listening today, and have a wonderful day.